11 lawyers failed, but the cleaning lady showed the solution in 2 minutes. And what the millionaire as Sarah stood there, watching the lawyers scramble to process the document she had pointed out, a strange mixture of pride and disbelief settled in her chest. She had done it. Without even realizing it, she had become the key to unlocking a problem that had stumped some of the best minds in the city. The room was buzzing with excitement, but Sarah remained calm, almost detached, as though this was just another day on the job. She had always known she had a sharp eye for detail, but this was beyond anything she had ever imagined. The lawyers began to gather around the table, poring over the file she had guided them to, their voices overlapping in eager discussion. One by one, they turned to Sarah, nodding their heads in appreciation. "You saved us, Sarah," one of the senior lawyers said, his tone filled with genuine admiration. "How did you even notice that? We've been at this for hours." Sarah shrugged, her face flushing slightly under the attention. "I guess I just saw something you missed," she replied softly. "It wasn't anything special, just the way the documents were laid out. Sometimes the smallest things make all the difference." Mr. Thompson, the millionaire client, had been quiet until now. He stood up from his seat and walked over to Sarah, his expression serious but not without gratitude. "You've just changed everything for me," he said, his voice low. "You've helped me win what I thought was a lost cause." Sarah wasn't sure how to respond. She wasn't used to such praise, especially not in a room full of professionals. She had never been part of the elite, and she wasn't sure she belonged there. But in that moment, something inside her shifted. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. She didn't have to be a lawyer or a millionaire to make a difference. She had her own value. "Thank you," she whispered, looking down at the floor. Mr. Thompson extended his hand to her. "I want to offer you something," he said. "A job. You've proven yourself today. I think we could use someone like you." Sarah looked up, shocked. "A job? But I'm just a cleaning lady. I don't have the qualifications." Mr. Thompson smiled warmly. "I don't care about titles or degrees. You've got something that money can't buy, a keen eye and an understanding of people. I need someone like you in my company." Sarah stood frozen for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. This wasn't just a job offer. It was a life-changing opportunity. She had always dreamed of something more, but had never dared to believe it could happen to someone like her. And yet, here it was, right in front of her. She glanced at the group of lawyers, who were now looking at her with newfound respect, and then back at Mr. Thompson. The realization hit her like a wave. This wasn't just about the money or the job. This was about proving to herself that she was more than just a cleaning lady. She had value. And maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to start over, to finally live a life that was hers to control. I don't know what to say," Sarah finally managed to say, her voice trembling. Mr. Thompson laughed softly. "Say yes," he said simply. And with that, Sarah took the first step toward a future she had only ever dreamed of. As she left the office later that day, the weight of the job offer still hanging in the air, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The world was a different place now. It wasn't the same one she had woken up in that morning. She had crossed a line, and she knew that her life, just like the case she had solved, had changed forever. Little did she know, this was just the beginning. Stay tuned to see how Sarah's life unfolds as she steps into a world she never thought possible. As Sarah stepped out of the office building, the city skyline stretched before her like a new world, one she had never thought she would be a part of. The job offer was still fresh in her mind, and as she walked down the busy streets, her thoughts raced. Could she really do this? Could she transition from being a cleaning lady to something more? The weight of the decision was heavy, but it wasn't just the job itself that scared her. It was the possibility of change, of finally stepping out of the shadows and into the light. She hadn't known it before, but now she realized how much she had been longing for something more, something beyond the endless days of mopping floors and scrubbing toilets. As she passed the coffee shop where she used to grab a cup every morning before work, she noticed something. A couple was sitting by the window, laughing over their drinks. It was a simple moment, but it struck her deeply. How many times had she watched people live lives she only dreamed of, trapped in a cycle she couldn't seem to escape? And yet, here she was, being offered a chance to change that. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to shake off the doubts. She had always been practical, always told herself that this was the life she was meant to live. But now, things were different. Now, she had a choice. A choice to step up and take a chance, to finally embrace the possibility that she was worth more than what she had settled for. The next few days passed in a blur of decision-making and self-doubt. Sarah spent long hours thinking about the offer, talking to her friends, and weighing the pros and cons. She knew that accepting the job would mean stepping into a completely new world, one that would challenge her in ways she had never imagined. But she also knew that staying in the same routine, doing the same thing day in and day out, wasn't going to get her anywhere. And when Mr. Thompson called her to follow up on the offer, she knew it was time to make a choice. "Sarah, I'm still waiting on your decision." His voice came through the phone, warm but serious. "I believe in you, and I want you to be a part of something bigger. This could be the start of something incredible." Her heart raced as she held the phone to her ear. Was she really ready for this? Was she ready to step into a world where she was seen, valued, and respected? "I'm ready," she finally said, her voice steady. "I'll accept your offer." The words felt like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Mr. Thompson seemed pleased, and they quickly set up the details for her first day at the company. As Sarah hung up the phone, she felt a mix of excitement and fear. She had made the decision, but now, the real work was about to begin. The following Monday, Sarah walked into the corporate office building, dressed in a simple, yet professional outfit. She felt out of place at first, surrounded by the polished, confident faces of the employees, but she didn't let it show. She was here for a reason. She had a purpose. As she was introduced to her new colleagues, she noticed the skeptical glances some of them gave her. After all, she was just a cleaning lady who had been given an opportunity to work alongside them. But Sarah wasn't going to let their judgment stop her. She had proven herself once already, and she was determined to do it again. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of learning new things, attending meetings, and adjusting to the fast-paced environment. But through it all, Sarah kept her head down and focused. She wasn't there to prove anything to anyone else. She was there to prove it to herself. And slowly, as she gained more experience, the doubts began to fade. Sarah was starting to see the person she had always known she could be. A woman with potential, with intelligence, and with the drive to succeed. The more she immersed herself in her new role, the more she realized that this was where she was meant to be. One afternoon, as she sat in a meeting, a thought crossed her mind. She had done it. She had taken the leap, accepted the challenge, and had started building a new life for herself. And it felt amazing. But she couldn't forget how she had gotten here. It all started with that one moment, that one decision to trust herself, that one act of kindness. And now, Sarah knew that nothing was impossible. Not for her. Not anymore. As Sarah settled into her new role, the challenges she faced began to feel less daunting. The first few weeks were filled with questions, learning curves, and moments of self-doubt. But now, she was starting to find her rhythm. Her colleagues, once skeptical, were beginning to take notice of her determination and her unique perspective. She had proven that she belonged here, in this world that once felt so far out of reach. But even with the progress she had made, there were still moments when she questioned her place. Could she truly keep up with people who had spent their whole lives in the corporate world? Would they ever really see her as one of their own? One late afternoon, as Sarah sat at her desk, she was pulled into a high-level meeting about a new project. Mr. Thompson had requested her input. She was taken aback. She had been involved in smaller tasks before, but this was different. She was being asked to contribute to a major decision, something that could impact the future of the company. The room was filled with senior executives, all seasoned professionals with years of experience in the industry. And there she was, a former cleaning lady, now sitting at the table with them. As the meeting began, Sarah's nerves took over. She could feel her heart racing, and her palms were sweaty. The discussion moved quickly, and she struggled to keep up with the technical terms and jargon being thrown around. For a moment, she wanted to shrink back, to let the conversation pass her by. But then, she remembered something. She wasn't just here by chance. She had earned this seat at the table. She had proven herself. Taking a deep breath, Sarah spoke up. "I think we're missing something," she said, her voice steady despite the nervousness that still lingered. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to her. She hesitated for a second, but then continued. "I've been looking at the data from a different angle, and it seems like we're overlooking an important factor. If we consider the human side of this decision, the people involved." She trailed off, unsure of how to finish her thought, but then she saw Mr. Thompson nodding, a small smile on his face. "Go on, Sarah," he encouraged. The confidence in his voice gave her the strength to keep going. "I think we need to focus on how this decision will impact the community. We can't just look at the numbers. There are people out there who will be affected by this, and if we don't take that into account, we might be missing the bigger picture." The room was quiet for a moment, and Sarah could feel the weight of their gaze. But then, one by one, the executives began to nod, considering her words. It was a small moment, but for Sarah, it was everything. She had done it. She had shown them that she wasn't just a bystander, that she had something valuable to contribute. After the meeting, Mr. Thompson pulled her aside. "I'm impressed," he said. "You really thought outside the box. That's exactly what we need here." Sarah smiled, feeling a sense of pride that she had never experienced before. It was more than just the job offer or the fancy office. It was about being seen, being valued, and knowing that her voice mattered. As the days passed, Sarah's confidence continued to grow. She found herself taking on more responsibilities, handling projects that once seemed beyond her reach. She wasn't just doing the work, she was excelling at it. And with every success, she felt her old self, the one who had doubted her abilities, slipping further and further away. She was becoming someone new, someone strong, someone who knew her worth. One evening, after a particularly long day, Sarah sat in her small apartment, reflecting on how far she had come. The sounds of the city outside were a distant hum, but inside, she felt a quiet peace. She had found her place. She had taken the leap, and it was paying off. But even as she reveled in her newfound success, she knew there was more ahead. She wasn't done yet. This was just the beginning. And as she closed her eyes that night, she couldn't help but smile, knowing that the journey she had started was only going to get more exciting from here. As Sarah continued to immerse herself in her new role, her confidence grew, but so did the pressure. She had risen quickly through the ranks, and while it felt good to be seen and valued, she was constantly aware that the expectations placed on her were high. She was no longer just the cleaning lady who had made a lucky observation. Now, she was part of a team, expected to deliver results. The stakes were much higher, and every decision felt like it mattered more than the last. But Sarah wasn't one to shy away from a challenge. As the days passed, she found herself working on a new project, an ambitious campaign that could change the trajectory of the company. Mr. Thompson had entrusted her with the lead on it, and she knew this was her moment to prove that she belonged. She threw herself into the work, long hours, late nights, and countless meetings. But with each step forward, Sarah felt herself stretching in ways she hadn't anticipated. The pressure to perform was beginning to take a toll on her. She had always been the type of person to put others first, and now, balancing her professional life with her personal life was becoming overwhelming. There were moments when she felt like she was on the verge of losing it, when everything seemed like it was teetering on the edge. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Sarah sat in her office, staring at the pile of paperwork in front of her. Her phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a text from her old friend, Jenny, asking how she was doing. Sarah smiled, but the weight of her exhaustion was hard to hide. She replied, telling Jenny that things were going well, but that it was a lot to handle. Jenny, always the supportive friend, texted back almost immediately. "You've come so far, Sarah. Just remember, it's okay to take a step back sometimes." Those words hit her harder than she expected. In all the chaos of her new life, Sarah had forgotten one of the most important things, self-care. She had been so focused on proving herself, on showing everyone that she could succeed, that she had neglected her own well-being. And in that moment, she realized that no amount of success at work could replace the need to take care of herself. The next day, Sarah made a decision. She was going to ask for help. It wasn't easy for her. She had always prided herself on being independent, on doing everything on her own. But this time, she knew she couldn't keep up the facade. She needed support. So, she reached out to Mr. Thompson, explaining that she was struggling to keep up with the workload and asking if there was a way to delegate some of the tasks. To her surprise, he was incredibly understanding. "Sarah, I know you've been pushing yourself hard, and I admire your dedication. But you don't have to do it all alone," he said, his voice kind yet firm. "You're an important part of this team, and we want to make sure you're taken care of." His words were exactly what Sarah needed to hear. For the first time in a long while, She felt like she wasn't carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. Mr. Thompson worked with her to find a balance, to ensure that she wasn't burning out. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a step in the right direction. As the weeks passed, Sarah found herself adjusting to the pace. She still worked hard, but she also allowed herself to rest. She learned that success didn't mean sacrificing her health or happiness. She could be driven, ambitious, and still take care of herself. One afternoon, as Sarah sat in her office looking out at the city, she felt a sense of peace that she hadn't experienced before. The weight of the pressure had lightened, and she was learning to navigate this new life with a clearer mind. It wasn't easy, but she was finally finding her balance. And as she looked out at the horizon, she knew this was just the beginning. Her journey wasn't over. It had only just begun. As the weeks passed, Sarah settled into her new rhythm. The balance she had begun to find in her personal and professional life started to feel more natural. She was no longer the outsider in the room. She had earned her place, not just through hard work, but through her willingness to adapt and grow. Still, there were moments when she would catch herself thinking back to her old life, the one where she cleaned offices, worked tirelessly, and lived in the shadows. It was hard not to compare that life with the one she was living now, but she knew she couldn't look back. Not anymore. One morning, as Sarah entered the office building, she was greeted with an unexpected challenge. Mr. Thompson had called her into his office, and when she walked in, she noticed he looked a bit tense. He motioned for her to sit. "Sarah, I need your help with something important," he said, his tone serious. Sarah sat up straight, eager to prove herself once again. "Of course. What do you need?" Mr. Thompson leaned forward, placing a folder on the desk in front of her. "There's a new project I'm considering. It's big, really big. But it's risky. I trust you to help me navigate the challenges, especially the community aspect." Sarah felt her heart race. She had proven herself in the smaller tasks, but this was different. This was a major decision, one that could shape the direction of the company. "I'm ready," Sarah replied, her voice steady, despite the nerves creeping up. Mr. Thompson smiled slightly, but there was a glint of uncertainty in his eyes. "I know you are, but I also know this will be a big stretch. I don't want you to feel pressured, but I think you're the right person for the job." Sarah nodded, absorbing his words. She had faced challenges before, but this felt different. The project was about expanding the company's reach into new markets, but it wasn't just about profits. The focus was on building partnerships that would benefit both the company and the community. The more Sarah read through the proposal, the more she realized how much was at stake. She wasn't just helping to build a business. She was helping to create something meaningful, something that could impact people's lives. But there was one catch. The project would require a lot of public attention. The idea was to launch a campaign to promote social responsibility, to show that the company cared about more than just making money. But with that attention came scrutiny. People would be watching, waiting for mistakes. The pressure was on. As Sarah delved deeper into the project, she realized that the true challenge wasn't just in the logistics or the strategy. It was in managing the public's perception. She would need to convince the community, the media, and even her colleagues that this was more than just a corporate initiative. It was a genuine effort to make a difference. But she had an idea. Sarah had always believed that sincerity could cut through the noise. She didn't need fancy speeches or big marketing campaigns. What mattered was the truth. If they showed that they were committed to making a real impact, the rest would follow. As the project progressed, Sarah found herself in countless meetings, brainstorming sessions, and strategy talks. The pressure was mounting, but she kept her focus on the bigger picture. With each challenge, she grew more confident. And then, one day, as she stood before a room full of executives, preparing to present the final plan, she realized something. This project wasn't just about proving herself anymore. It was about proving to the world, and to herself, that she had what it took to make a real difference. As the presentation wrapped up, the room erupted in applause. Sarah's heart swelled with pride. She had done it. She had led the project to success, and, in doing so, she had proven not just to others, but to herself, that she was capable of more than she ever imagined. And in that moment, Sarah knew she was no longer the woman who cleaned offices and stayed in the background. She had become a leader, someone who could change the course of her own future. The road ahead was uncertain, but she was ready for whatever came next. As Sarah walked into the office the next day, She couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. The weight of her recent success, the accomplishment of leading a major project and seeing it through to fruition, still lingered. She had proven herself to her colleagues, and most importantly, to herself. But with success came new challenges. As the company moved forward with its plans to expand, Sarah found herself at the center of a growing storm. The attention they had gained from the public, the media, and even some competitors was overwhelming. The pressure to maintain that success, to meet every expectation, was mounting. One morning, she received an urgent email from Mr. Thompson. He wanted to meet with her. When she entered his office, she could tell by the serious expression on his face that something was wrong. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, gesturing for her to sit down. "I've been getting feedback. Some of it is good, but there's also criticism. People are questioning our motives, the project's direction, and whether we can really make a lasting impact." Sarah felt a lump form in her throat. She had anticipated some resistance, but hearing it directly from Mr. Thompson made it feel real. "What are they saying?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "They're questioning whether this is just another corporate stunt," Mr. Thompson replied. "They don't believe we're genuinely committed. Some people think we're just doing this for the publicity, not because we actually care about making a difference." Sarah was quiet for a moment, processing his words. The campaign had been her brainchild, and hearing that people doubted its sincerity stung more than she expected. She had always believed in the project, in its potential to change lives. She had believed that if they could show the community how much they cared, the rest would follow. But now, she was starting to wonder if she had missed something, if she had misjudged the public's perception. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice small but determined. Mr. Thompson sighed, leaning back in his chair. "We need to address the criticism head-on. We need to show people that we're not just in this for the headlines. We need to prove that we're truly committed to the cause. And I think it's going to take more than just words. We need to act." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. She had been through tough times before, but this was different. She wasn't just fighting for her own success anymore. She was fighting for the integrity of something she truly believed in. "I have an idea," she said suddenly. Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow. "Go on," he encouraged. "What if we turn the campaign into something even more hands-on? Instead of just talking about what we're doing, let's show it. Let's involve the community directly. Let's host an event where we partner with local organizations and actually do the work. Let's bring in volunteers, show them the impact we're making, and give them the opportunity to see how it's done." Mr. Thompson stared at her for a moment, clearly considering the idea. Then he smiled. "That's exactly what we need, Sarah. You've got the right idea. We'll move forward with it." The relief that washed over Sarah was palpable. She knew this was the right direction, and she was ready to make it happen. Over the next few weeks, Sarah worked tirelessly to organize the event. She reached out to local organizations, set up meetings with volunteers, and made sure every detail was covered. The event was designed to showcase the company's true commitment to the community, not just their desire for recognition. It was about bringing people together, showing that they could make a real impact, and proving that they were more than just another corporation looking for a quick win. The day of the event arrived, and Sarah stood at the entrance, watching as people filled the space. The volunteers, the community leaders, the media, all of them were there, ready to see if the company could live up to its promises. As Sarah walked around, helping with the setup and greeting the volunteers, she realized something. This wasn't just about the project anymore. It wasn't about proving anyone wrong or defending her own ideas. It was about making a real difference. The day was a success, far beyond anyone's expectations. People saw the sincerity in their actions, and the criticism began to fade. As Sarah stood at the end of the event, watching people share their stories and experiences, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had done it. She had helped turn a moment of doubt into something meaningful. And in that moment, she knew that this was the work that mattered. This was the impact she had always dreamed of making. As the weeks passed, Sarah felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The event had been a huge success, and it had not only silenced the critics, but also solidified her place in the company. The volunteers had turned out in full force, and the community's response was overwhelmingly positive. Sarah could see the genuine difference they were making. People were excited, engaged, and ready to take part in something bigger than themselves. But with this newfound success came a challenge Sarah hadn't anticipated, an unexpected moment of doubt. One morning, she found herself standing in front of her office window, looking out at the bustling city below. The weight of what she had achieved was heavy on her shoulders. As the company's efforts grew, the spotlight on her grew with it. She had gone from a cleaning lady with no real future prospects to someone who was now leading major projects, shaping the direction of a company. But could she keep up with it all? Was she ready to handle the responsibility that came with being the face of the company's most important campaign? Sarah was alone in her thoughts when her phone buzzed. It was Mr. Thompson, asking her to meet him in his office. She took a deep breath, trying to shake the nagging feeling of uncertainty that lingered in her chest. Walking into his office, she immediately noticed that there was something different about the way he was looking at her. He motioned for her to sit down, his expression more serious than usual. "Sarah, you've done an incredible job with the project," he began, his tone warm but measured. "Your leadership has taken the campaign to places we never thought possible. But there's something we need to discuss." Sarah's stomach tightened. Was this about the criticism that had surfaced earlier? Was something going wrong? Mr. Thompson continued, "I've been thinking about the direction of the company, and I want you to consider taking on more responsibility. You've proven yourself time and time again, and I think you're ready for something bigger." Sarah blinked in surprise. "Bigger?" she echoed, unsure if she had heard him right. "Yes," Mr. Thompson said, leaning forward slightly. "I'm offering you the role of Vice President of Operations. You'll oversee all future projects, lead key initiatives, and be the driving force behind the company's next phase of growth." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Sarah couldn't move. Vice President? She had gone from cleaning office floors to running an entire department. The magnitude of what he was offering felt like too much to comprehend. Her mind raced, thinking back to the days when she was just a cleaning lady, struggling to make ends meet. How had she gone from that to this? It was overwhelming. Mr. Thompson watched her carefully, giving her a moment to process. "I know this is a big decision, Sarah," he said gently, "but I believe in you. You've shown that you have the skills, the vision, and the determination to lead this company to greater heights." Sarah took a deep breath. She had worked hard to get here, and she knew deep down that this was her chance. But could she handle it? Could she live up to the expectations that came with this new role? I need some time to think," she said, her voice shaky but resolute. Mr. Thompson nodded. "Take all the time you need. But just know that this opportunity is yours if you want it." As Sarah left his office, she felt a mix of excitement and fear. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: she had come so far. She had proven that she could rise above any challenge, and now she had the chance to shape her future in a way she had never imagined. That night, she sat in her apartment, reflecting on everything she had accomplished. The woman who had once felt invisible, who had never dared to dream of a life beyond cleaning floors, was now on the verge of something much bigger. She had earned this opportunity, and no matter how daunting it seemed, she knew she had the strength to rise to the challenge. The next morning, Sarah made her decision. She walked into Mr. Thompson's office. With confidence, "I'll accept the position," she said. "I'm ready for the next step." Mr. Thompson smiled, a proud look in his eyes. "I knew you were the right choice," he said. As Sarah left his office, she felt a sense of clarity that she had never felt before. This was the beginning of a new chapter in her life, and she was ready to take it on, head held high. As Sarah settled into her new role as Vice President of Operations, the weight of the responsibility was always there, but so was the sense of accomplishment. The company was moving forward, and with it, she was helping to shape its future. The transition had not been easy. There were challenges every day, moments when she doubted herself, but with every challenge came growth. She had learned to trust her instincts, to take risks, and most importantly, to believe in her own abilities. But even more than that, she had learned that success wasn't about doing it all alone. It was about building a team, trusting others, and knowing when to ask for help. She had once been a cleaning lady, an outsider looking in, but now, she was the one making decisions, leading initiatives, and influencing the company's direction. It was a journey she couldn't have imagined for herself when she first started. One afternoon, as Sarah sat at her desk, reflecting on everything she had achieved, her phone buzzed with a message from Mr. Thompson. "I want to see you in my office." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Was something wrong? She had been leading the company's most important projects, and things had been going smoothly. Had she made a mistake? When she arrived at his office, Mr. Thompson greeted her with a warm smile. "Sarah, I just wanted to take a moment to say how proud I am of you," he began. "The work you've done, the way you've handled everything, it's been incredible. You've grown into a true leader." Sarah felt a lump in her throat. She hadn't expected praise, but hearing it from Mr. Thompson meant more than she could express. "Thank you," she replied, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I couldn't have done it without the support of the team. This has been a journey for all of us." Mr. Thompson nodded. "That's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. The company is expanding, and we've reached a point where we need someone who can continue to drive us forward, someone who can take us to the next level." Sarah's pulse quickened. She knew what was coming, but hearing it still caught her off guard. "I want you to take over as Chief Operating Officer," he said, looking her directly in the eyes. "You've earned it, Sarah. You've earned everything that's coming your way." For a moment, Sarah couldn't speak. The weight of the offer was immense, but it was also a recognition of everything she had worked for. She had been the cleaning lady, the one who had been overlooked. And now, she was being asked to lead. I don't know what to say," she finally managed, her voice filled with awe. "Say yes," Mr. Thompson said with a smile. "You're ready for this, Sarah? You've always been ready." In that moment, Sarah realized how far she had come. She had taken a chance on herself, and it had paid off in ways she never imagined. She had faced challenges, overcome doubts, and now, she was being given the chance to lead the company she had helped to grow. As she walked out of Mr. Thompson's office, the weight of the decision still hung in the air. She had made it. She had come from nothing and had built a life for herself. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Sarah knew one thing for sure. She was ready for whatever came next. The woman who had once been invisible, who had once believed she was meant to clean the floors, had now become someone who shaped the future. And as she walked into her office, her heart swelled with pride. She was no longer just Sarah, the cleaning lady. She was Sarah, the Chief Operating Officer. And this was just the beginning.